Will Ferrell has made some great movies. This is not one of them. But, here's the silver lining. It's not one of his worst movies either. I actually found it very enjoyable, very pleasant, I would say. I think this would make a wonderful, afternoon movie to watch, especially because it's already included with your Netflix subscription, right? It's very good at basically free. But in all seriousness, when I was watching the movie, I wasn't sure if I liked it so much, especially because I was watching it very late at night because I wanted to make the embargo time. But when I think back on it, I'm glad I watched it, and I actually would recommend that you at least consider giving it a whirl yourself. All right, so here's what makes Eurovision enjoyable to me as an American. I think my being an American was a big factor in my liking this movie, which I think is partially why Will Ferrell made it. It's very much an American making a movie about a European event. And I'll be curious what you think if you are both American and European or from somewhere else in the globe, how that maybe affects your viewing of this film. All right, so this is, again, what I thought was enjoyable. The European settings. Iceland is stunning, and this movie has the tracking shots to prove it. But it's not just the vistas that are stunning, but I thought that the town that Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams' characters are from, where we spend quite a bit of time, was just picture perfect. Oh, it was lovely. It was just the type of town you would want to go to if you were visiting Iceland. If you were, I guess, maybe an American. But this American was thrilled. It was just the Europe I like to see. I think Europe is stunning. So beautiful. It's like you can't find a bad spot. Well, it doesn't seem like you can find a bad spot in Europe. I'm curious, again, how Europeans feel about it. Then also, not just the settings, but this movie to me felt like a little bit of a celebration of Europe. A little bit of a celebration of Europe, but a celebration nonetheless. Well, yes, Will Ferrell is American. They did a fun thing with the credits at the end. They put the nationality flag of every actor. So yes, Will Ferrell is American. Rachel McAdams is Canadian. Pierce Brosnan, by the way, put both the Irish and the American flags. I was like, what? I guess maybe, you could be dual citizenship, but I don't know. I think in the spirit of this movie, he should have just listed himself as Ireland. But anyway, Demi Lovato also shows up, by the way, in a fun cameo. I won't ruin it. But the rest of the movie is full of European actors. I know that this was a criticism of this film, but there's a lot of European talent on display here. The movie also, in addition to Iceland, takes place in Edinburgh, because that's where Eurovision is being held in the movie. And it makes fun of Americans in a way that even I, as an American, found hilarious. I thought that was a great running gag throughout the film. There's one car chase scene that I thought was pretty darn funny. There's also a gag about elves, by the way, that takes a long time to pay off, but I felt, you know it's going to pay off. You're like, I know where you're going with this, but I still found it very satisfying. In fact, I think they could have done more with that bit. I also liked seeing Eurovision. I can't believe I didn't hear about Eurovision until I heard about this movie being made. I had no idea that this existed. And it's been around since the 70s. The movie and I found this out for the movie. The movie starts out, and they're like, oh, look, here's ABBA, who I love, winning Eurovision. And I was like, ABBA won Eurovision? Pause the movie. This is what happens when you watch movies at home. Although, you could do it technically in a theater, but you're not supposed to. But I was like, is that true? Quickly Googled it. Couldn't believe it was true. ABBA won Eurovision in 1974, which shot them to stardom. What? It's like the music version of the World Cup, a giant party that everyone in the world is at, apparently except for us. It was very frustrating. And also, I really appreciate getting to experience the competition through this movie. Will Ferrell did a lot of research. He shadowed the competition for 1 year before making this movie. And so you get to see the behind-the-scenes process in the individual countries. Also, when they get to the stadium, the rehearsals. I loved seeing the stadium. It was beautiful. I loved the elaborate performances. They actually put a number of them on. Some of them have some comedic elements, obviously, because of the kind of movie this is. But some of them, are actually, they actually have legit aspects too. They really put on music performances, very elaborate ones. Plus, there's a song-along scene in the movie, and I was like, am I supposed to know who these people are? And I looked it up, and apparently, you are. If you watch Eurovision, they have this song-along where all these characters, it's like passing the song along, and everybody sings lines. And it spotlights former Eurovision contestants, really spotlights them very well. So if you're a Eurovision fan, you'll get a kick out of that, I imagine. Also, I enjoyed it, and even I was like, I think I'm supposed to know who these people are. This is fun. And also, the singing voice for Rachel McAdams is former junior Eurovision contestant Molly Sandon. So yeah, it's not Rachel McAdams singing, but Rachel McAdams does a very good job, which we'll get to in a moment. It's also a very sweet movie. Will Ferrell, Rachel McAdams, and Dan Stevens are all playing pretty darn nice people. I mean, they have their flaws, but overall they're nice people, and so it was enjoyable to spend time with them. I have to say, though, McAdams and Stevens saved this movie, and Will Ferrell, who co-wrote and co-produces the film, seems to almost know it, as he often gets out of their way for large parts of the movie, which is good, because when Ferrell is not at his best, a little bit of Will Ferrell goes a very long way. I would say the movie truly is divided up amongst the three of them. Both McAdams and Stevens are not only hilarious, but as dramatic actors as well as comedic actors, they both make their characters seem very real with fleshed out emotions. They were great. The movie has some crude humor, just in case, considering who you might be watching this with, but it's nothing worse than an Adam Sandler movie, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Also, while it's very slight, Stevens' barely closeted character adds some very important commentary to Russia's still unfortunate anti-LGBT stance. They're like one of the only countries left in the world that are still so draconian about it. There's one it's a small line, it's just one line that Dan Stevens says at the end of the movie, but you felt it. I think it was important. David Dobkin directs, giving the movie a glossy movie feel. It feels, to be honest with you, like a streaming movie, but a very high quality one, so that's good. So what's not to like, right? Well, the movie can be overly silly, which is when Will Ferrell runs into trouble, right? That's how you can really differentiate his movies. It's also very meandering. It plays like a funny idea for a comedy sketch that's been stretched out into a movie without the help of a professional screenwriter, which is exactly what happened. Because Will Ferrell has teamed up with fellow comedy TV sketch writer Andrew Steele, who actually has written a lot of his recent bits for him, when he does like commentary. He's been doing a lot of commentary lately in character. Andrew Steele writes those bits with him. And they don't know how to write a structured film. They just don't know how to do it. And the movie suffers for that. Also, for a movie about music, it never gets to an 11. It never gets to an 11. I would say the highest it gets is an 8, but it's resting at about a 6. I'd say, yeah, 6. At first I felt that was a little generous, but now I think it's resting at about a 6 when you factor in like the locations and the charm, all that stuff. The movie also kind of wastes Graham Norton. I mean, I appreciated seeing Graham Norton. He's great. But he isn't given funny enough bits as the announcer compared to, say, Pitch Perfect. They had very good material. This really is like a Eurovision Pitch Perfect, but, slightly less professional because, again, it just doesn't have... Will Ferrell didn't bring on people who, David Dobkin has actually directed some movies that I actually very much enjoy. I like Fred Claus, goddamn, darn it. But I think it's just not as strong as it should have been in that regard. But, still, as I said, I not only had a good time watching it, or a pleasant time watching it, but I look back at the movie fondly. So that's my review of Eurovision. A great afternoon watch, right? Like a Sunday or a weekend, or any day during quarantine. You turn this on, I think it would be a welcome distraction. And it's particularly interesting to an American. So I'm curious what you think of it. If you think that you agree with me that it's not as good as it could have been. I mean, I don't know if you could make a better movie about Eurovision. I think it will only just be more like Pitch Perfect. And I think this is just a little bit of couple shades beneath Pitch Perfect, to be honest with you. I don't love movies about singing, full disclosure. And so the fact that I enjoyed this movie at all is a miracle. So I think that also is something this movie can put as a feather in its cap. So anyway, share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.